depends on how much help we're gonna get from American Jews in particular in convincing this very Israel-friendly administration to just send Jordan's king an email and tell him and let him go. It doesn't take more than an email, and possibly from Trump's coffee maker or janitor. The king is very weak and fragile. Next question, please.
I have to say I'm fascinated with the picture that you paint about Jordan, because obviously those of us with an association with Israel have watched Jordan from a distance for quite a long time. And the impression we've had in recent years is of a country that's taken in a huge number of refugees, first of all from Iraq and then from Syria, and looked after them. So we thought it was quite a nice place, really, and I'm very interested in the contrast.
It absolutely is a horrifying open prison that's called Jordan today. First of all, Jordan took 650,000 Syrian refugees and 160,000 Iraqi refugees. So Jordan's king's constant lies about 2.5 million and 2 million refugees is laughable. United Nations numbers confirm that, and all refugees have to register with the United Nations, or they're going to risk deportation and they won't receive the benefits from the United Nations. So the numbers are accurate. Abuse of refugees. If Jordan's regime is not taking care of refugees who arrived 70 years ago and who are his own citizens, will Jordan king take care of refugees who arrived yesterday from Syria? I've never experienced or come to learn about a more absurd apartheid state in today's world than Jordan. Jordan is the only country I know of where they stamp your passport to recognize you that you're Palestinian or not, just like the Jude star that one point your ancestors and your friends and family had to endure. Jordan's history of I'm not referring to human rights abuses. I'm talking about systematic discrimination against the Palestinian majority in Jordan and the Bedouins. The Bedouins of the south and the east, they are natives of the land. They are incredibly discriminated against. Why? Because they represent a majority of the East Bankers. Palestinians are incredibly discriminated and humiliated against on a humiliated daily basis for the same purpose. The king, who is only a family of 88 individuals, want to kill any potential of anyone standing up against them. Question? Next question.
Yeah. What could you possibly do to raise the profile of your movement? Because until I heard of this meeting, I really wasn't at all aware of the situation in Jordan, and certainly not the presence and existence of you and your party.
Well, we have been facing a lot of problems with the Western media, especially the media in the US, not focusing on Jordan. This is changing, and we're receiving more coverage than most people. And also the Israeli media has been very, very realistic in covering both sides of the story. So all you have to do is Google my name or look me up on YouTube, and you'll find a lot of interesting things. Remember that Jordan today is a sideshow with the bloodshed in Syria and the massacres taking place in Iraq and ISIS. Jordan has become a sideshow. Only that when Jordan explodes, okay, it will not remain a sideshow anymore. Either way, our friends in the intelligence community, whom we are very connected to and very familiar with, they are aware of the situation and they're aware of change to come. And I could tell you that we are very well known and very well received and respected by the establishment in several friendly nations, including, for example, the US Congress and elsewhere.
What's your view of the current British government and the prospect of a Corbyn government in the next few months? How does that relate to your particular issues?
I think the Labour Party, looking as outsiders, has given in to the wrong side of this fight. This is a fight for humanity, for all of us, between us and the evil embodied by the radical Islamists. And when we see some Labour Party's leaders causing up to people who are close to Hamas, we don't get too surprised to learn that the same leaders are very welcoming of Jordan's government, Jordan's king, and Jordan's ambassador in London. It all connects to one dot. There is a kingdom. There is a kingdom, an empire, called the Muslim Brotherhood Empire. And that king, the crowned emperor of that empire, is Jordan's king. This is documented. He created them with his father. He controls them. They control countries like Qatar, Jordan, through a very strict hierarchy, and they control the Islamists in London. Is it a surprise that the leading Islamists of the Muslim Brotherhood in London are all Jordanians, and that they're all friends with Jordan's government? And I can give you names if you wish. Is it surprise that the Islamist Qatar, every single manager in Al Jazeera, and the names are available on Al Jazeera's website, are Muslim Brotherhood members from Jordan who are loyal to Jordan's king? So you are dealing, what I want to address is the Labour party, as far as we've learned, has been connecting to the Muslim Brotherhood. And for us, Muslim Brotherhood equals Jordan's government. No question about that.
The present problem with Qatar's fallout with Saudi Arabia, do you see this escalating? Do you see this as a bigger picture and maybe trouble?
Actually, I have an article potentially running in either the Jerusalem Post or Israel Hayom sometime next week about this. I already submitted the material. The fight is that President Trump does not want the Muslim Brotherhood anymore. Now, to get rid of the Muslim Brotherhood has a head and a tail. The head is in Amman, Jordan, where the administration of the Muslim Brotherhood, the Grand Emir of the Muslim Brotherhood is Sheikh Hammam Saeed, who lives in Jordan, who's a frequent visitor of Jordan's King Palace, and who's a loyalist to Jordan King. And the tail is in Qatar. Qatar provides the funding, Jordan's government provides the logistics, intelligence, and the headquarters and safe houses. So by attacking Qatar, he's going to cut off the funding that's immediately going to weaken and even cause a collapse with Jordan's Muslim Brotherhood, because it is the head, the mother group. If Jordan's Muslim Brotherhood is to fail or fall, then Jordan's king is not going to stay in power. That's why we are very optimistic and very happy with what's happening to Qatar.
I'm wondering, to what extent are your views, because I'm sure we'd all vote for you if we were Jordanian citizens, but to what extent are your views typical of your coalition? If the regime were to fall suddenly, would your coalition take over, or would there be a danger of Muslim Brotherhood or some other terrorist group?
Okay, this is a very important question. This is the most important question tonight. Okay, first of all, my influence is documented. There has been two cases where Jordan's government state media called for protest against Israel and against the Palestinian Authority. The Israeli media itself documented this when I issued or released messages to the Jordanian public not to go to those protests, telling them that our enemy is the Hashemite regime, not the Israelis. Our problem is not Israel, the Hashemites. In both cases, despite having 2 years gap between them, it was reported and confirmed, even by the Israeli media, that I've managed to stop the protest against the Israeli embassy. There are a lot of politicians and opposition figures in Jordan. Why am I the only one who the king attacks in his media and the only one who was sentenced to life in prison? Why not someone else? At the same time, Most Jordanians today are concerned with their daily bread. Poverty in Jordan is incredibly harsh. This king is much worse than his dad. His family of 6 individuals, including 2 minors, they operate 7 private jets. The guy owns, you won't believe I won't go into details for legal purposes, but property he owns in London is unreal. The gentleman's net worth is not in the tens of billions, in the hundreds of billions. To some of you might go like, no, come on, okay. For Arab dictators, 100 billion is average. Don't compare Bill Gates to Arab dictators. That's a businessman. Long story, people are starving in Jordan and they want their daily bread. They're not concerned with this whole thing anymore. Let's not forget the reports of the intelligence reports of the U.S. Embassy in Amman that were made public, okay? Made public by WikiLeaks. It shows that, according to the U.S. Embassy in Amman, Palestinians in Jordan are not interested in the right of return, and they want to exchange it with civil rights in Jordan. Also, we want democracy for Jordan, but we are not willing to drop democracy on our people because it's not going to end up very well at the beginning. We want to gradually introduce democratization, maybe 5, 10, 20 years after we take over, but not direct democracy because we don't want to act like a parent giving the keys of his Rolls Royce to a 14-year-old kid. So democracy, where it's one man, one vote system is what we believe in, but we believe it's going to take time. And also we're going to do it the same way Sisi did it to Egypt. The first thing we're going to do is ban the Muslim Brotherhood, ban Hamas, ban all Islamist groups, and ban their members from both voting and running for office. Not democratic, but we have no other options. We won't allow them to take over. The U.S. won't allow them to take over. It's the U.S. call. Who rules Jordan next? Whoever the U.S. chooses to support, it will happen. I don't care if it's Lady Gaga. Next question.
To make this all happen, you have to be able to offer, as you said, a really attractive economy and attractive lifestyle in your new country. How are you going to transform Jordan into that kind of economy from where you are just now?
First of all, okay, by getting rid of the king and his family, we'll save ourselves a few tens of billions of dollars each year. A full welfare system in Jordan would cost us less than $5 billion a year. At the moment, the king's, seems to consume up to 82-83% of the country's budget. We don't know where it goes. And only one man in Jordan has the authority to consume all that amount of money and go unnoticed. So the minute we get rid of the expensive family, we can afford a welfare system, we can afford a Jordanian NHS, which won't cost us much. Our estimate is up to barely the entire welfare system and healthcare, $10 billion a year. At the moment, and that's very lavish, at the moment, we have an estimated $35 billion a year unaccounted for in Jordan's budget each year. Next question, please.
When you get down the regime of the monarchy, you can look French Revolution, when they put down the kings were in power, and they only got that with the military supporting it. Okay? And I don't know, you've got a lovely philosophy, I agree with you in a lot of things, but how you got to implement that? You need to motivate the people want that as well. Okay?
I didn't understand the last sentence.
The people from Jordan need to want that as well.
They want that desperately, and they
No, but
have revolted
they-
against the king between 2011 and 2015. And we almost toppled the king several times, and each time Obama sent him back. Unless we have a green light from the United States, it's not going to happen. And I could mobilize my people tomorrow to take to the streets against the king.
But he's to take to the streets every single week. You can get down the regime. Not
We
just
did
once a
that.
week or
Please,
once a
please,
month.
please, 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 please. We took to the streets for between 2011. See, the media even doesn't cover. 2011 and 2015, people took to the streets every day. And Obama said Jordan's king should stay. Unless this is supported by the military.
Yeah.
And unless the military supports it, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And the military will only support it if they get the green light from the United States. It's as simple as that. And any so-called expert need to shut up because they know nothing about Jordan. And they keep talking about it. And as far as I'm concerned, they can go to hell and sit on their tochas over there forever. Enough! Enough with the mess they've been feeding us. They've been feeding us that Jordan's king is very important to Israel. Jordan, the Bedouins wouldn't allow Jordan's king to fall. For God's sake. This is disgusting. And they're getting away with the nonsense they keep feeding to us.
Can I ask
Stop for a lot of them.
why are they feeding us this nonsense?
Because they love the king. They have a thing for him.
David.
Thank you, Sammy. Could I just say, sir, that
The next thing is the Love the King parade run by Washington Institute. Okay, go ahead.
I see what your problem was, Sammy, by the way. Sir, can I just say, first of all, that this might have been the single most provocative and stimulating presentation I've heard in Glasgow for many years. Thank you for that, and Sammy, and so on. Thank you for bringing our friend up here. Can I just ask one particular player in the sort of geopolitical scene that I don't think I heard any reference to? Can you just inform us whether these guys are in the scene or not in the game? Russia.
Thank you, David.
Sorry, and she says and Iran, but that's her question, not mine.
We passionately respect our Russian friends. We have good ties to them and to the Russian government. And we appreciate the work against ISIS in Syria. I think Russia is pretty much neutral. And I know that Russia is more disturbed by Jordan's kings and his royal family's actions in selling weapons to ISIS and stealing weapons from the CIA and even British weapons and selling them directly to ISIS. So they see the king for what he is, and they are concerned while keeping a distance, but they know whom they're dealing with, and they probably would love to see positive change in Jordan as long as it doesn't open up another terrain for the terrorists.
Any more questions? Jean. Jean.
Who is he, the king? Who is he and where did he come from initially?
Okay, well, about who he is and where he is, it's obviously available on Google, but about what he stands for, this is a gentleman who has aligned himself, who's not qualified. He doesn't have the charisma, the knowledge, not even the self-respect, for example, that his father once had. This guy took over by surprise, and it's an evidence how much sway the United States have. His uncle was already ruling the country. The United States under President Clinton thought, you know, we need a different guy. So they brought this guy because his wife was Palestinian, and they thought that they could attract the Palestinian population and make them happier, and they brought him out of nowhere. It shows you how all of the so-called analysis about who will take over and how, It's irrelevant. We are a small, poor, resourceless country. We depend on the United States. Whatever America wants, it happens. And thank God, the Americans have been very kind in the sense of they're not trying to colonize Jordan. But in the case of the king, they cut him too much slack, and now the game is over for both him and Abbas and Qatar.
Mudar, can I ask you, because where did the Hashemites come from originally? Because obviously King Hussein was there before. So how were they able to take over Jordan initially?
Well, they arrived on what we call it, on a British tank. Okay, they didn't have any numbers, they didn't have any money, they didn't have any relevance. So, this gentleman standing next to me, who was born in British Palestine, has more relevance and rights to Palestine than the Hashemites, who are ruling 78% of it. They belong to Mecca, to Saudi Arabia. They don't belong to that country. Never in modern history has a foreign family of so few ruled so many with such an iron fist and ruthlessness.
Don't let him go yet. He's got lots more things to say. We need to ask him the question, Micheline.
Right. I'm going to ask a bit of
I'm sorry, but you did ask. I need to ask.
All right,
No, somebody else wants to ask.
Okay, and I'd love to get back.
Okay, we will. That's fine. At the back, please.
So, what are the prospects for President Trump beginning to understand the situation that you're putting forward and deciding that the Hashemite kingdom is not relevant anymore?
Well, the United States already knows the Hashemite kings are irrelevant. This is not a secret. The issue is the next time we come close to toppling the king and letting him go, I don't think that President Trump has enough reasons to convince him that he should go the extra mile by keeping the king of Jordan in his office. Notice how Jordan's king is still supporting Qatar. Even though all Arab countries have cut ties, he's still supporting Qatar. He refuses to ban the Muslim Brotherhood. He's still buying oil from ISIS. His soldiers killed 3 American soldiers, and the king promised to defend them and even blamed the victims. This was last November. And much, much, much more. So I don't think this president will take any much nonsense from that guy and his regime. He's a New Yorker. Trump is a New Yorker. You don't give too much, you don't become a nutmeg to a New Yorker.
Micheline, you can ask the second question.
Are you sure? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
I'm very interested in everything that you're saying, and I've got huge admiration for what you're doing. I think you're very brave. When you think about the situation that could transpire, the coalition would hopefully take over Jordan. The Hashemite regime would be gone. The interest for Israel is that the Israel-Palestine problem would be solved. The interest for America is that a number of issues would all be solved at the same time, and hopefully we'd have a better and more peaceful world. But my question to you is, after 50 years of Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza being very, very angry people, and more angry as time goes on, are they going to go along with the plan?
We are not gonna force our people to move to Jordan. And I've said it, and again, time and again, we won't allow for an ethnic cleansing of Palestinians from Israel or the West Bank.
Quite right.
Free will, our country is going to be open to its own native citizens with all the benefits being received on arrival. As far as we're concerned, we understand that at least 63%, according to the last study, are planning to move on, especially the young people who have been indoctrinated into hatred by the Palestinian Authority. So those people would have another potential instead of attacking and throwing rocks at Israeli soldiers. And even then, the question remains, would you like to have those angry young men becoming senior citizens in 50 years? inside Israel or somewhere else? That's the question. There's a lot of romance involved here. So what if the Palestinians don't change their minds about us? This is not about, I'm sure when Germany and the UK and the Allies signed peace, I'm sure the Germans didn't feel good about the Allies. It's laws, borders, and arrangements between states that make the difference, and the people follow along. This is how it's always been. This is how it's always going to be. And in our case, we are not allowing another Muslim Brotherhood criminal to take over, as was the case in Tunisia, and as was the case in Egypt for one time. This is why Israel was so afraid of allowing Jordan's king to fall during Obama's reign, because Obama would have literally immediately pushed the Muslim Brotherhood to rule. Now we have Trump. This is an opportunity that's not going to repeat itself again. Either we take it or we lose it forever.
So how do you propose to take it, or what actions are you taking to facilitate what you just discussed?
First of all, exposure and education. People need to learn the truth. It's simple. You don't know the names of my colleagues, for example, but at least you can Google my name, share the articles, use social media. Knowledge is very valuable, and all you need to do is let people know the truth, and the truth shall set them free. At the same time, we need more support from American Jews. They need to keep writing to the White House. The White House has a man who really loves Israel and who really wants peace. All he needs to be is to be shown the popular support for a change towards Jordan that would actually serve Jordanians, Palestinians, and Israelis. If you know anyone in America, don't hesitate to ask them, to share information with them, and to tell them to write to their rabbi, to their congress member, to the White House. This is how it's going to move. And thank God we have a different president in the White House now. This is a president who actually reads, unlike Obama, unlike many others.
Can I ask you about the United Kingdom? You've spoken a lot about Trump. But what's your relationship with the United Kingdom, and especially the Foreign Office, which historically has been very close to Jordan?
The Foreign Office is very cautious about Jordan. They are not stupid. They understand that things could change in Jordan at any moment. They have been very cautious in our mutual communications with them. They do definitely exhibit respect and understanding, but again, this is America's call. This matter will be decided in the Oval Office, not anywhere else. You want to have this change happen the way we want it to happen. It starts with the United States, it ends with the United States.
How safe do you consider yourself to be here, and has anyone tried to assassinate you?
Wow.
Okay.
He's in Glasgow, by the way.
I will have that.
There is a God, first of all. Second, we need to understand that if you take a cause, you have to accept that you might pay your life as a price. Mm-hmm. And we Jordanians and Palestinians have given up thousands of souls for the wrong cause. If my soul would be spent away for one right cause, it's worth it. At the same time, it is very necessary, in my opinion, that we stop glamorizing and glorifying so-called peace activists, so-called freedom fighters, so-called Arab Zionists, who are always crying that they are in danger and crying wolf. danger has always been in my life. I can't go into details because, you know, security arrangements are very kept, you know, undercover. But there has been a couple of very close attempts. And I just think of Prophet David, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace be upon him, when he killed Goliath with the sling. That I never forgot. My sling is gonna kill Goliath, the Hashemite regime, and I'm fighting for two people: the Palestinian Jews or Israelis, and the Palestinian non-Jews or the Jordanians. Without much to say here, it's worth it.
Oh.
There are two big factors here, aren't there? First of all, the fall of the Hashemite kingdom, and if that happens, the second question is, what happens afterwards? If the Hashemite kingdom falls, the complexity of the Middle East is difficult enough, in as much as you've got Western against Eastern interests and rivalries. You've got Sunni and Shiite. There is going to be some potential power grab because of different vested interests. Has America given any indicator to you that should the Hashemite kingdom fall, that they would wish to back the option which you're presenting tonight? And if so, it may be there'll be a different president in America in 3 years' time. And the question is it not really going to be the military, albeit through America, that actually determine the power? But they may determine that that should not lie with your party, and especially with a different president in 3 or 4 years' time, possibly. And if we look at the difference between Trump and Obama, heaven knows what's going to happen afterwards. So whilst you're putting forward a very attractive option, I'm not sure what the evidence is as to why the Jordanian people or America should actually, in a power situation, a power vacuum, should actually take your option.
Okay. First of all, I cannot speak about our communications with the Americans, and I cannot say much, but I can say Trump is our last hope for this to happen. As far as I'm concerned, my popularity, merit, heritage, and welcomeness towards me by the Jordanian people are all documented and true. If you go to Amman, you'll find Zahran Palace, one of the largest in the country, situated on Zahran Street, considered the most expensive and glamorous cosmopolitan street in the country, which is in Zahran neighborhood, 16,000 square, 16,000 dunams. Each dunam is 1,000 square meters of the most expensive and the most developed, wealthy area in the region. So that should possibly tell you that there is a foundation for who I am and what I represent, and I'm very confident about my people's support for you. Also, who else? Do you have another game in town? Show me one Palestinian Jordanian who's active, who's actually active to represent 6.2 million people. While America and the West is chasing people who represent barely 2 million Palestinians, 2,100,000 Palestinians in the West Bank, they're looking away from the fact that most Palestinians are in Jordan, not somewhere else. And there's no other representative and no other person speaking in their name. And the Bedouins also the Bedouin minority, which is hugely oppressed by the regime. I'm the only one speaking in their name. Now, why should the United States choose me? If the United States wants to stable Jordan, it has no other option. And I think President Trump is very smart to get the information about me before he makes a decision. This is not a question of when the Hashemite regime falls. I told you about the intelligence report from the Mossad itself. The Hashemites are yesterday's news. Could be a year, could be 10, but they're gone. Now, if I get the support, me and my group, to rule today and take the Trump advantage, Trump chance, all will end well. If you leave it as is, where is, the way Daniel Pipes and Robert Satloff and the rest of the nice friends of mine wanted to stay, then Jordan's king is going to fall, say 7, 10, 5 years from now, and you never know who's going to be in the White House, and you never know what he's going to do. Maybe Obama's friends are going to be back in the White House, and they're going to put the Muslim Brotherhood person in power. It is a very narrow window, and it ends with President Trump. It's either we take it, or we're all going to pay a price. And I have warned several times before about things about to happen, and everything I've warned about, either my social media, my articles, has come true. May this serve as my last warning. Help a democratic, somewhat democratic regime in Jordan take over instead of the king and replace the king, or there will be hell to pay in the very foreseen future.
I did not hear all of what you said. I apologize for not being here. But have you not figured in the axis of Qatar, Abu Mazen, Hamas? All of these people are totally in power to get vast sums of money in American aid. Why should they let you take that away from them?
Mudar, Carl came late, so didn't hear most of your talk, so you might have to go back a bit.
Okay. Actually, we did discuss that, I would enjoy explaining it again. The ball is in America's court. The ball is in America's court. Whoever, Jordan is fully controlled, fully under American military control. We have 3 American bases. The U.S. Central Command is moving to Jordan from Qatar, slowly, secretly, but happening. We have dozens of American squadrons of F-16s in Jordan. American drones and American airplanes are protecting our borders. We have borders that were built surrounding, it's called the Great Jordan Wall. It cost $1.5 billion, separating Jordan from Syria and Iraq. And I think, and also there's Israel building a new wall now, and so on. So the country is really secure, and that's why, if you have noticed, there hasn't been anything major that's happened. Why is ISIS avoiding Jordan? They do something here and there, minor things, but why are they not even daring to enter Jordan? Because they'll find an American F-16 on top of their heads in 5 minutes. The fear about Jordan is outdated, unjustified, and irrelevant. Everyone in the intelligence community knows USA guarantees Jordan's security. And therefore, to answer your question, it guarantees who's going to be the next interim president in Jordan until elections are held. And when we hold the elections, we know we're going to win. We will win because we're going to be in power already.
I was just going to say, Glasgow Friends of Israel has been in existence for 2 years. And I'd like to think we'll be in existence in 3 years' time when we'll invite Mudar back. When President Trump is either president or not. So keep that in your diary.